So Hades 2 has officially launched into early access, and even with the game's current state of it not being completed, Hades 2 looks like it's going to be a bona fide Game of the Year contender. So much so that even in its current state, you could consider this game a Game of the Year contender for this year. Now, it needs to be said that the game is in early access and will be there for the duration of 2024. What this means is that unfortunately, if you are a console player, do not expect to get your hands on Hades 2 until 2025. It is a sad reality, but just know that they will be delivering an amazing product when the game officially launches. But without further ado, let's get into it. One of the first things that you notice with Hades 2 is the graphics and art style. Now, visually, from a technological standpoint, Hades 2 doesn't look like it did anything to enhance the game's looks in terms of technologically. Where the game really shines and where the improvement comes from is in the actual art design, the way everything in terms of the art has taken a step forward, and that goes across the board, whether it's the characters, the cutscenes, or the environments. Everything from an art direction has taken a significant step forward. This also goes in lines with both the audio and the musical score. The audio is really good. The music is phenomenal, especially when it comes to boss fights, and the voice acting is on point. So in terms of an overall presentation, Hades 2 delivers on all fronts. Of course, this is a roguelite after all, so combat is the focal point, and much like its predecessor, Hades 2 delivers on this front tenfold. They've taken what everything people have played with Hades 1 and dialed it up. They found ways to keep the entire gameplay loop familiar, yet fresh at the same time. Without going into the specificities of it for spoiler purposes, as you play through it, you'll be like, oh, this feels like Hades 1, but they changed this, they changed that, and it keeps the game fresh because you know what you're doing and you know what everything means, but you don't know it until the game tells you what each thing is. And when it tells you, you're like, oh, this is what it is. And then you instantly feel the familiarity with its predecessor, but it's fresh because it's a different take. Keeping up with the combat, though, not only is the combat very responsive and the controls are tight and everything is as you expect it to be, but this is all elevated with the boss fights. The boss fight designs and the way the encounters go they've literally dialed it up to 20. It's amazing, especially that second boss fight, the way they curated it and how they tuned it with the musical score and everything is absolutely phenomenal. Then, of course, there's the environments themselves. The environments, not the original Hades, it was more of like a straight dungeon crawler type environment where it's just branching paths, and it was randomly generated. In Hades 2, they take this to a whole nother level, as there's environments in the game that's like an open forest, that's like an open area, and it's not just some sort of dungeon, and you have multiple paths to take. And it's just the way they designed the layouts of the environment, they definitely took a step forward, while simultaneously they were smart enough to keep a little of the retro stuff put in, just to keep gamers with that familiarity with what you come to expect from Hades. In terms of customization, the customization in Hades 2 has taken a major step forward. Yes, you have, again, that familiarity where you can build your home base, which is called the Crossroads. In this one, you have incantations, which allow you to create new things for your base that allow you to have upgrades like the Keepsake Vault and things of that nature. But more so, what they've also managed to do with the customization is change the way you set up your character going into a run. And what I mean by this is we have this new thing called tarot cards. And these cards basically allocate perks and buffs to your character, but you can only equip a certain amount because your character only has a certain amount of psyche slots. So as you go through a run, you are deciding, do you get the currency used to upgrade how many psyche slots you have, therefore allowing you to equip more cards at one time? Or do you grab the dust currency that is required to unlock the cards. So as every run that you go through, it's a balancing act. Do you chase the currency that gives you more cards, or do you chase the currency that gives you more psyche that allows you to hold more cards? Because these cards have a huge variety of buffs, things such as increasing your HP, increasing your newly found MP. Do you want to increase your sprint speed? Do you want to increase the rate of which you can get a rare boon? Things of that nature, but you can only equip so much at one time. So it's a balancing act each run with which direction you want to prioritize for upgrading your character. And I think this is the biggest change from Hades 1, where Hades 1 didn't necessarily have this. Hades 2, it's a whole nother level of customization that allows you to have more builds and increase replayability with each subsequent run. Lastly, we also want to talk about the story. Now, the story of Hades 2 is a direct sequel to Hades 1. What this means is your main character of Melinoe, she is the sister to Zagreus, and the events of this game take place after the events of Hades 1. So it is encouraged that you play through Hades 1, complete it. Bear in mind, to get the true ending of Hades 1, you need to beat it 10 times, and then proceed into Hades 2 if you haven't beaten Hades 1 already. Now, as for the negatives, what possible negatives do I have for this early access version of Hades 2? Well, there's not very many. As I stated at the top of this review, Hades 2 is considered, in my opinion, would be considered a game of the year if early access games qualified, which Hades 2 does not. But the issues that I have is, first and foremost, the game does not have a proper ending in its current state. That will be addressed with a future content patch coming later this year, but in its current state, there is no proper ending to the story. Okay, that's expected. It's early access. And the other issue I had is that not all of the art in the game is complete. So some of the art, specifically in like things like keepsakes, they have placement art and not the official art that's going to be in there. So there is some of the artwork that's missing, as well as obviously not all of the weapons and areas are available to us. They did say they're adding a new area to the game. They also said that we're going to get another weapon in the game. So things are missing from the game. It is being held back as it is an early access release. But even so, what we have here is phenomenal. And it shows the promise that this game will be a Game of the Year contender when it eventually launches. Without further ado, this game, I can't speak any more highly about it. I think I'm a big fan of Hades 1. I loved Hades 1. Hades 2 is looking like it's going to be one of my Game of the Year contenders, if not my own personal Game of the Year when it launches. This, to me, is a must-play experience for anyone who's played Hades 1. And if you haven't played Hades 1, I suggest you get on that quick, so you can prepare yourself for Hades 2. If you have a PC, you can jump on Hades 2 right now. I'm giving Hades 2 early access a 9.5 out of 10. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.